Officially, welcome to Plant Families in Our Food Series 1. And our first family is this week, so you're in the right place. Um, to remind folks of something, this class is okay for people of all levels, beginner or advanced or however. Um, you don't have to be an expert in botany by the end of this class. I consider myself to be a botanist, but I don't think I know everything at all. I'm constantly learning new things about old families, and there are many families that I don't know. There's something like 420 plant families in the world at last count, and I might know only a handful of them, and that's okay. The idea of this class isn't to become an expert. The idea is to learn different ways of seeing plants, so that way plants aren't as unfamiliar to you, even if it's a plant that you don't know yet. It's to teach new ways of connecting with plants. So that way, even if you don't know who it is, you'll be able to gather some clues, and plants will begin to feel more like old friends than strangers. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I will welcome questions throughout. And let's see here. I think that's it. So we're going to get started. Let's see here. I'm just going to share my screen at the start here. We'll start out by be showing you three pictures of flowers from this family. And for the first 2 minutes of this photo, I'm going to encourage you to draw what you see on the screen as much as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. My recommendation will be to draw small, so that way you don't get overwhelmed. But I'll give you 2 minutes to draw, and then following that, 1 minute to write down any words or numbers to add to your picture. So 2 minutes starting now. One minute left. About 15 seconds left to draw. And there is our first 2 minutes. Um, so now I'm going to invite folks to take 1 more minute to add any words, describing words, questions, um, let's see here, numbers, etc. to your drawings, starting now. About 30 more seconds. All right. And that is our minute. Before we go on to the next one, let's just shake out our hands for a moment, take a deep breath. I know it's our first drawing of the morning. That's always a bit much. Um, but here we go. We're going to go now to our family member number 2. And again, if this is overwhelming, then you don't have to draw the whole thing. You can just draw part of the picture. I recommend drawing small. And we're going to again take 2 minutes to draw what we can of our friend here on the screen, starting now. Forty-five more seconds. Okay, that's our 2 minutes. And if you're just joining us, no worries. We had spent just a little time sketching this family member here on the screen. Um, and and our idea was it didn't have to be a very detailed or like it didn't have to be a very super high fidelity sketch, just sketch for information. And now we're going to take 1 more minute to add any words, describing words, uh, diagram type things, questions, observations, and numbers to our picture, starting now. About 20 more seconds. There's our minute. How's everybody doing? Hopefully good. Um, Alrighty, we've got one more friend to draw, and then we will get started on our family officially. Here is our last friend. So again, we'll just take 2 minutes to sketch what we can. Again, you don't have to worry about your drawing being perfect. Just sketch what you can for 2 minutes. And my advice again is that if it seems overwhelming, then draw smaller. Sometimes drawing smaller can help save you being overwhelmed. 2 minutes starting now. One more minute. And there's our 2 minutes. We'll take one more minute to add any words and numbers to our pictures, starting now. About 15 more seconds. And there's our minute. Alrighty then. Good job, everybody. How y'all doing? Doing okay? That's good. All right, here we go. So we've just drawn 3 of our family members, and I imagine most of you probably know who we're meeting today. Welcome to the Rose family, also known as Rosaceae. Oh, before I forget, sometimes you'll hear me say Rosaceae, other times you'll hear me say Rosaceae, same thing. My teachers always say Rosaceae, and I learned and said for many years Rosaceae, so they mean the same thing, just different pronunciations. Um, just because my brain can't always decide. But yeah, welcome to the Rose family. Um, it is named for the genus Rosa, Um, and that is indeed the exact like rose genus. There's many, many other genera within this family. Um, One thing that's kind of interesting is to look at what we think of as a rose. You see this picture, you immediately think rose, right? But what's different about this compared to the three that we just drew? And people can unmute if they'd like to say, what's so different about this compared to the ones we just drew?
There's a lot more petals to the flower.
Yes, yes, there are. What else?
And they're more tightly arranged.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
I like how, or the roses are almost like a teacup shape
Yeah.
versus maybe like the other rose is more like a plate or like a tea. What's the thing you put the teacup on? The saucer. The saucer.
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 It's almost like the saucer shape. And then the other one before that, it's just got the same like curly leaves, petals. It's still early, guys. I'm drinking coffee.
But that is a wonderful way to describe it, saucer versus teacup. Um, as you all have noticed, this one has a lot more petals, much more tightly arranged, and more 3D and upright than the flatter ones. This is because of certain traits that this family has. This family is really good at being, I guess, how would you say this? Um, Now my words are not going very well. We cultivate this family and take advantage of some of the mutations, so-called mutations, when we might have a rose family member with more petals, or other times there might be other flower parts that can become petals with the right manipulations. So even though we picture roses looking like this is not the sort of rose that we're going to find in nature. This is the rose that has seen a lot of cultivation by us and getting it so that those extra flower parts are turning into petals. Now, when we look back to this one, does anybody know what this one is? What our third one was?
Is it a California rose?
It is, yes, it's a
Oh,
California
cool.
rose.
I guess, right.
Oh no, that's perfect. And those of you who took my class last time will know that this is a very specific rose. This is my friend Harold. Harold is a particular rose bush who I've some of you might have heard me rant about Harold before. Um, I had this restoration site, and Harold was this one rose bush that liked to smack me in the eye. But this is him at his best. So this is indeed a native California rose. And then, hold on, this one. Does anybody know this one? I don't know how far outside of California it goes, but
Is it a Malva rose? I'm guessing.
the good guess. I don't think it's a Malva rose, but I'm wondering if maybe it's in the same subfamily. This is a toyon. It's Heteromeles arbutifolia. This is a toyon, and this is part of what I noticed this morning that was so different is that the stamens are a bit different on this one and some of the others. Still has the characteristic rose feeling to it, but the stamens seem to be almost like on a cup around the outside, unlike this one, where the stamens are all coming out from everywhere in the middle. Anybody know this one? That's okay. This one grows wild in a lot of places.
Is
This
it
is a,
strawberry?
sorry, what'd you say?
Sure. I was gonna say strawberry, but actually, I agree with Sarah. It's more blackberry.
I wish sorry, I want to hear what Susan was saying. If you're saying that you agree with Sarah and Sarah's saying blackberry, then yes, you've got it. Sorry, sorry, my audio is a bit, but yes, you're absolutely right. This is indeed a blackberry. Um, and so it's kind of interesting to notice what these three have in common and what they have different. And we're going to go into that a bit more. Um, but here we go. So getting started. Um, this is our flower anatomy. I need to redraw this at some point because I made the pistil way too big. But this is something like this is what you're going to be seeing in a botany textbook or anything about flowers. This is your basic flower diagram. We have our stem. We have our sepals. Those are the little leafy green things, not always green, but often green things that surround your flower. These are the petals. It's probably what we think of most when we think of flowers, a bit showier, softer. Then we have our stamens. These are the parts with the anthers on them. So they have the pollen. And then we have our pistils here. And this is where the seeds are made. We have our ovary and stuff. And so the way I remember pistil and stamen is PSSP. Pistils make seeds and stamens make pollen. So that's our basic diagram of flowers. But things get a little complicated with each of the families. Things are not always quite the same as the basic. We'll get into that in a moment. Before we do, I wanted to get a closer look at the pistil, this part here in the middle. It's the part that's sort of shaped like a vase. These are some of the parts within the pistil, and this is going to become very important later. We have our stigma here, which is almost like the very top of the vase. That's the part where the pollen gets collected when it's being pollinated. Then we have the style. Sometimes this will have a tube going down it where the material from the pollen will go. Then we have our ovary, which is where the seeds will be made. And then we have our ovules, which are the future seeds. Now, this part's important. When we think of fruit, we think of matured ovary. So that's what we think of when we think of fruit. But this family, this family is tricky, which is fun. So I'll let people take another moment to write that. And then I'll go to our next slide. Also, does anybody have any questions so far? If not, that's okay too.
So is the sepal, that's not the leaves, right? That's different from the leaves.
Different from the leaves, yeah, but
Okay.
leaf-like. And there's a
Leaf-like.
reason. Yep. And there's a
Okay.
reason for that. Most of these things, the sepals and the petals, all are modified leaves. Modified meant to wrap up and protect the seed-bearing parts of the flower, which is why we call the members of these families angiosperms, which means covered seeds. Unlike the conifers and others that are called gymnosperms, or uncovered seeds. All right. Is it good for me to move on to the next slide now, or do folks need another moment? All good? Okay, here. So, as we talked about, that's our flower anatomy. This is what it looks like with this family. It's a little bit different. And mind you, this doesn't represent all of them. This is just one of the most common formations. So we still have our sepals. At the bottom are leaf-like structures. We have 5 of those typically in this family. So almost every member of the family will have 5 sepals. Sometimes they'll be a little bit harder to spot. We usually have 5 petals, unless we've gotten some genetic modifications or just freak accidents. So as you might notice from your first 3 drawings that all of them had 5 petals. So that's common in this family. Next trait is that we will have numerous stamens. And that actually reminds me of something that Susan asked me to do, and I still haven't done it. So I'm sorry, Susan. Susan has reminded me in the past that numerous usually means I don't feel like counting them, and I should definitely endeavor to count them. In botanical texts, you'll see it say numerous just because there's always a lot. Although as you might have noticed as well, some of them are arranged a little bit differently. A lot of times you'll see them kind of exploding out from the center, but sometimes you'll see them sort of on the lip of the area surrounding it. And then oftentimes you'll have numerous pistils. Not always, but often. So this is one variation of it. I personally think I need to go back and research the flowers a little bit more now that I'm noticing some really key differences. I'll also say that botanists have a habit of playing musical plants with us. So things that were formerly in their own families get combined into the same family together, and then what was formerly a distinction becomes a subfamily. So we'll talk more about that a bit later on. And yeah, Susan is noticing that the toyon might have only had 5 stamens. I noticed that too. I was surprised that that the toyon had a countable amount as opposed to what I've been reading before. So I've definitely got some more studying to do. All right, ready for our next slide? We're good? Or does folks need another moment? I'll go to our next slide. And if folks need me to ever come back, then that's okay too. So this is a long list. You don't have to write down everything word for word. It might help to add diagramming type things to your drawings. And you might have already noted some of this down. So our usual characteristics are that we have 5 sepals and 5 petals, although sometimes they will have more. It's inconsistent sometimes with the petals. We'll have lots of stamens. We'll have 1 to many pistils, depending on the species. Sometimes there'll be patterns within subfamilies and tribes. What I notice about it is that the combined effects make the flowers look like they have a fuzzy center. And that to me gives me a real feeling of the rose when I look at it, is it looks like it's a fuzzy center. Sometimes it will be slightly neater, but the fuzzy center. Plus, then one thing I've also noticed about the petals of most of these family members is that they're delicate. They seem really, really liable to fall off if you shake it too hard or play with it too hard. So there is that. One often overlooked trait is that a lot of the family members will have oval leaves with serrated edges. Not always. Sometimes they'll have really elongate leaves, but if you look, you might see little teeth. Sometimes they'll be a bit more obvious than others. Like if you think of roses, then you might think of really, really obvious teeth, or blackberries or strawberries. Others will be a lot more subtle. And some species will have a little cup called a hypanthium. That's here. I'll actually go back for a moment. Again, I don't think that I drew this completely well, but this little cup right here would be called a hypanthium. So you'll see that more in some of the others. And there's a huge variation in fruit forms, which is why we talked about the ovary a moment ago and about the pistil. The important thing is to let the plant that's in front of you tell you. Any questions so far before we go on to our next slide? I want to make sure that I'm not going too fast.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully it's better now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead, Susan.
Good. Yeah, so maybe you're going to get to this, but I wonder if the number of pistils might correspond to the number of separate like fruits that come together. Because I know, I mean, you're going to get to the fruits. I'm thinking of like blackberries that have like lots of fruits all attached together, and they do have lots of pistils. So I'm wondering if there's a correspondence there.
Yes, I think that there is. There definitely is with the blackberries and the strawberries. Absolutely. We'll go more into that too, but each of those little pistils does become a fully well, it becomes little drupelets, so to speak, when it comes to blackberries. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That's a wonderful question. Any other questions? That's okay. We'll have lots of time. So this is a little look inside one flower. This is a decorative pear. I want to say it's called flowering pear. Unfortunately, my photo here is a little bit fuzzy, but the reason why I show this is because you can sort of see the little bulge down here when you look. And so the ovary is down here. And then you have these parts of the pistil coming up here. So this would be the style coming up and out and the stigma. And so you can see that in here, I think it looks like it's almost split into 3s, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it's always that way, but it looks as though there's a 3-part style with the pistil here. I don't know if you all are seeing that too. It goes 1, 2, 3, right in here. But I thought it would be kind of neat to look inside and see how the tube kind of travels down. Whereas it looks as though the stamens are kind of just loosely attached on the top. They don't go down and under. Kind of interesting. That was just a quick look inside. But what foods are in rosaceae? I know we've mentioned some of them, but I'd love to give people a chance to call out. What foods do you think are in rosaceae, or no, are in rosaceae? You can just call them out.
Rose hips.
Rose hips, nice. I see berries. Yes, berries. What else? Oh, go ahead, Linda. I saw you say something.
Yeah, Sarah and I both said at the same time, apples.
Apples, nice. And go ahead, Robin.
I was going to say apples.
Nice. Yep, apples. Very nice. Any others that folks can think of? I'm seeing pears and quinces. I'm seeing peaches and plums.
Apricots.
Apricots. Yep. All right, y'all ready to see? And I'm seeing some wonderful contributions into the chat. Yep, tayberries and loganberries. Here we go. So we've got aggregate fruits. I did this weird. We've got pomes and we've got some stones. So we've got 3 main types of fruit and a whole bunch within each. And we'll get more into what each of these mean in a moment too. So we've got our cherries, our almonds, our apricots, our nectarines, plums, peaches, pluots, so many, our stone fruits. So that's one kind of fruit. We've got our pomes, like our apples, pears, quinces, and loquats. If I'm not mistaken, Toyon also creates pomes as well. And I think that you have to be careful how you eat them. I've seen differing advice on about how to eat them, but I have eaten them before and they're really tasty. But you still have to be careful because I know that if you eat them wrong, then it can be toxic. But yeah, we have these guys. We have our aggregate fruits with our strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and rose hips. So lots of different things. And yes, you're right, Susan. Technically, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries aren't berries. They're false fruits. And that's why I say that this family is tricksy. The main question about our fruits is asking which part of the flower becomes the part that we eat. Because botanically speaking, the fruit is the seed-bearing structure that is exclusively formed from the ovary. And we talked about the ovary earlier, so that becomes the fruit. But an accessory fruit is fruit that has fleshy tissues from a non-ovary part of the plant. So sometimes we're eating something that is actually not the ovary. The ovary is somewhere else. So this is important to think about like this. And that's why we call certain ones false fruits. But they're still delicious. Yeah. Strawberries are definitely complex. So ready to go into the fruits a little bit more? Here we go. So our stone fruits are also known as drupes. And that is where, and I know, and I apologize in advance that this particular class has a little bit more terms than usual. I try not to overload people with botanical terms. And so you don't have to necessarily remember the terms themselves, but you can remember how it works. That's more important than knowing the actual term. And so the way that this works is that we have a fruit. This is a proper fruit where there's a fleshy outer part, the part we eat, that surrounds the hardened shell on the inside. And the hardened shell is protecting a seed. So this is all ovary here that grows. And then we have our seed, formerly an ovule. And so this is what makes a drupe. So when we think of our stone fruits, they are drupes. Yeah, drupes are awesome. Any questions about this?
Yeah, I guess so. Cherries, nectarines, plums, peaches, all those are very like intuitive. But what about the almond? Because almond has like a shell, right? So is it the same as I mean, like, yeah, I'm trying to think about that. Maybe it doesn't have the fleshy part,
See,
but has the
if you
rest, or
if you
what do you
buy
think?
an almond in the store, like an unshelled almond,
Mhm.
I think it's the bony seed protector part is the part that's the shell that you then could crack open to get the almond. But yeah,
That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
also wondering, yeah, like, is there? I've never seen an almond on the tree. Is there an actual fleshy part?
That's a great
And you
question.
eat it because you can eat peaches.
Yeah, because also the other ones, right? Not the cherries, but like the apricots, plums, and peaches. A lot of times, if you crack open the seed, it has something that looks like an almond, although it's not very tasty.
I've noticed that too. When cracking open a peach or
Probably
something else.
not safe to eat, right? Because isn't there cyanide in some of those?
That's what I've heard, although I need to do my research and see if that's still true. Because that's a good question. Has anybody here actually seen an almond on a tree? Oh, Linda has. Go ahead, Linda.
My great aunt used to have an almond tree down in San Jose, and it's been a very long time since I've seen an almond tree up close like that. But it has, even before you get to the part that you eat, there's yeah, like you say, a bony seed protector, but on top of that, in the tree, there's like a fuzzy kind of covering. I don't know how else to describe it. It is kind of like a fuzzy kind of covering, and that comes off, and then you have,
Possibly just send a picture or a link. Lincoln actually sent it to Rachel. Yeah, that's interesting. Just to
yeah,
know what you're saying, yeah.
I can't, I can kind of sort of picture it in my mind, but I'm not sure if I'm describing it correctly.
I think that the pictures and the link that Kim sent do seem to match your description. There is like you can see where it looks a bit like a peach kind of thing, but it's almost like imagine you had like a very bad peach where the nice juicy flesh was just like all fibrous instead. That's what it looks like in the picture, at least to me. So I'm like, I don't think I'd want to eat that, but it seems like it's technically still fleshy. It looks like in the picture.
I was
But
going
it
to
looks
say,
very fibrous and like and then dry and not like a good thing to eat.
I was going to say
Yeah,
though,
I see the picture that Rachel put on, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of a fuzzy, kind of a coating, or not, just like
Yeah.
a layer.
It
Yeah.
looks like if you had like just a very bad peach that just for some reason went all fibrous. I can sort of see how there's a connection between the two. But I
think
wouldn't want to eat. It doesn't look like it's something I want to eat.
I think that your description, Linda, is wonderful. I could picture it in my head, and then when I saw the picture in the chat, then it matched exactly what you were saying. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, your description was wonderful. So that is, I love these kind of questions because then we get to deep dive a little bit more. So thank you.
Oh,
was
good.
also
I'm
really-
glad my memory served me correctly, and because I mean, it's probably been since grade school that I remember playing in her backyard and seeing those.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's such a cool story too. But now
Oh, that's-
Thank you.
now I'm realizing that what I thought an almond looks like is not what an almond looks like. Because I always thought it's
Yeah.
what you find in the book
Mhm.
bins, in the
Yeah.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
She-
So that must
she
be the part
lived
that's
in-
inside the fleshy part. I mean, I
Yeah.
suppose it does look a bit. You can see the resemblance between the peach pit and the shell covered almond.
Mhm.
So yeah. But can you go back to the drupes though? I
Oh,
have a
sure.
question. Does drupes apply specifically to fruits of rosaceae, or is that a more general term?
It's a
I'm
more
thinking
general.
walnuts. We've got a big walnut tree out on my street, and and it has the huge, like hand sized green fruits that you could then sort of get. You wouldn't want to eat that part. It is fleshy, but not good to eat. But then inside you have a shell that contains the walnut.
The drupes are definitely a lot more generic than just than
Okay.
just within the
Sounds like that
rosy.
might apply to walnuts also, and I guess hickory. Not hickory, yes.
But that
Hickory
is,
nut.
I'm glad about that question, and I will
Cool.
So it would be fun sometime to look at the different kinds of fruits and then just see how many different
Mhm.
different ones that we have are like technical terms. So I will remember to check out the walnuts, especially because
Well, I think walnuts are in Jugglandaceae, so maybe that'll be in series 3.
Yep, exactly. I was trying to decide whether that was going to go into series 3 or 4, which I'm finding out.
We'll
So
see.
we'll probably see them
Sometime.
again. So thank you for that. That's a wonderful clarifying question. And then here we have poems. And I also saw a really good thing in in the chat too about how with nectarine, the almond-like seed in the center can be made into a jam. Sarah Sprint has a recipe, so that's really cool to know, because I'd always been taught that you shouldn't eat, like, but then I guess you can. So that's why it's always good to recheck your knowledge, because our knowledge evolves. And so this is our second part of the fruit. Sorry, this is our second type of fruit. This is called a pome. And pomes are accessory fruits, as opposed to complete true fruits. Not that there's anything wrong. I don't want to say that this is like, I know that we're told that this is a false fruit or some of the others are false fruits, but that's mean. No plant wants to feel like they're like imaginary. So anyways, but this is a type of accessory fruit. And so that cup I mentioned earlier, the hypanthium, that's the part that we eat mostly with pomes. You can't eat the core. When you think about the core of an apple, you know how you got that like kind of tough bit just before you break into the core? That delineates the hypanthium flesh from the former ovary. So that core is actually the true fruit on the inside. That's the part that became, yeah. And so the hypanthium, as you can see here, and the reason why it might look like this is upside down, but that's because that's where the stem is from. The stem comes this way. So the apple has to be drawn upside down, even though it eventually will hang. We've got our sepals up here. They wither away into this. So all of this down here in between the stem and the sepals, this is what swells out and creates the fruit. That becomes this. And so that cup, that fleshy cup, the hypanthium becomes the part that we eat. So that's what happens with a pome. It's always really cool when you cut up open an apple, and then you can sort of see you can see the shape of that former ovary. It's really fun. Does anybody have any questions about this? And I'm sorry that we couldn't. I couldn't take longer on the last one. I wish we could have gone longer. I just want to make sure that that I don't keep you guys too late. Although we can definitely talk more about this in pencil miles if folks would like to continue. So, any questions? Oh yeah.
Just going to note that the hypanthium and the ovary are kind of under where the petals are. And I know that you've mentioned before superior versus inferior ovaries. So
Yep.
is that what's going on here? Because it looks like I'm thinking
Yep.
other examples of this have the kind of the fruit and then I guess the ovary kind of above where the sepals are.
And yep, this is exactly what you said. This would be an inferior ovary. And we don't say that to be mean to the plants. We say that because inferior means that, like Susan was saying, the ovary is beneath where the sepals and the petals are. It's beneath where the other flower parts are. So that's why it's called inferior ovary. It just means below. Whereas a superior ovary would be if the ovary were up here on top, sort of like my badly drawn diagram at the beginning. That's a really good question, Susan. And you're absolutely right. Any other questions? And I'm trying to check the chat too. Right, y'all ready for the next one? Next one is the aggregate fruit. So this is the part where it becomes fun or really complicated. And that's where we have, and that also relates to Susan's earlier question as well. This is where we have several separate ovaries within one flower, and they stay together on the same structure. So in other words, each of these is an individual little pistil with the ovary inside. So we've got multiple pistils / ovaries, and they don't split off and go on to different and become different fruits. They all stay here together. And the part that they are all bound on is the receptacle. And so that relates to raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, and rosehips. So for example, with this could be either a raspberry or a blackberry. A receptacle has grown, and each of these pistils has become an individual little fruit. In this case, it's almost like having little drupelets. Each of these has become a little drupe in a way. So each individual is a small fruit. So they call it an aggregate fruit. As opposed to a multiple fruit, that one's complicated. And again, you don't have to know the exact terms. It's more about knowing how they work.
is there a way to see the left picture, not the right? Because I can see the green line. Is that just pointing to the receptacle on
Yep,
the flower? Okay.
yep, exactly. It's that same thing. That is, and sorry about that. Maybe I could have
No,
put
that's,
that over a bit more. But yeah, that is
no, it's good. It's pointing the same thing. That's all right.
yep. No, I'm glad you asked that. Yep, this is receptacle.
And raspberries have that too, even though on a raspberry, the receptacle that comes off the fruit, right? And the blackberry, it's sort of contained in the middle or attached to it.
Exactly. Good distinction. Yeah, with the raspberry, this bit in the middle will fall off. And
But
with
it's all the same. And I guess like there's also like loganberries and cloudberries and all those different, and salmonberries and all the different kinds of purposes.
exactly.
I had no idea that rose hips had the same structure. I gotta look at this more. Don't rose hips have an outer covering that's very smooth?
Yeah, they do. So
Hide
rose,
that there's all the fruits in there. I have to cut one open and see.
I kind of want to look deeper at the rose hips too. So I might be doing that as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
See, this is why I love this class, is because I even like we all learn like every time through. I learn new things every time through when I'm talking with you all, usually because you all have amazing questions. And then I have to think more deeply about things. So I love this class.
I know we're very close to time, but like, this is interesting to think about because, for example, rose hips have vitamin C in them, and I think maybe strawberries and blackberries, they have like varying amounts of vitamin C that makes it good for you.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, we might not have an answer for this, but like maybe what is it about this particular type of, I don't know what you want to call it, but in this plant family, how come this has more vitamin C than maybe some other edible plant?
I think that's a really good question. And I've got questions about that. And like, because I know that growing up, I was taught that fruits will have a lot of vitamin C. And so I kind of want to I kind of want to see if there's a pattern among fruits in general about vitamin C, and then question if maybe that's part of their function. Um, and exactly how the vitamin C might help the plant. It also could be something where I wonder if maybe vitamin C is somehow attractive to their pollinators, or to ones that they might want to eat the fruit and pass it on. So I've got lots of questions about vitamin C as well. I think that's a really good question.
I should question. I'm not sure if I realized that these fruits in this family are high in vitamin C. I wonder if the non-fruit part of the plant, does that also have more vitamin C? And actually, now I'm thinking that, can we think of any foods that we eat that aren't the fruit of rosé seed? That's something else? I'm trying to
Um,
think. I don't know if we ever eat the leaves or the stems of any of them, do we?
Not that
I
I'm
mean,
thinking.
rose petals, I guess.
And I think that some of them leaves are possible, but I'm not totally sure about that. So that's a good question. Plus then you've got things like the strawberries, which we're going to talk about right now. They're special. The entire fleshy part that we eat is receptacle. And each of the little so-called seeds those are the whole fruit, each of these. So it's covered in fruits. So it makes me wonder, why is it that the receptacle gets so filled with vitamin C? Mm. And sorry about the Frankenstein picture. Usually we start out with strawberries being covered in their fruits, and then the receptacle kind of bulges out over time.
It separates all the seeds. So I mean, I think the thing is like the reason that plants produce fruit that's good to eat
Mhm.
basically is for seed distribution, right? So like some kinds of, at least in a lot of cases, like some kind of animal
Mhm.
or bird or whatever, depending on the fruit, will eat the fruit, and it's attracted by the delicious fruit part, and hopefully poop out the seeds somewhere else without having destroyed them. But then again, then we also actually do eat the seeds in some cases, and so yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have a question.
Mhm.
What do you get if you give a strawberry to a bunch of crows?
I know this one. Does anybody else know it? You're giving an accessory to murder. Hmm. I love this class. All right. I know that we're almost at time, so the next part we'll have to get through a little fast, and I apologize. Any other questions before we get to the final part? If there's no questions, then here's the part that some people love and some people maybe don't. We're going to play a little game. It's called Spot the Rosaceae or Rosaceae. Now, this one, we're going to, let me see if I can get the poll up, or let's see here. Oh, Jasmine already did it. Thank you, Jasmine. Or did you? Or sorry. Yep.
Yes, I did.
Jasmine is awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. So, so the idea with this is that if you don't feel comfortable answering it, that's okay. Also, do know though that this is anonymous. So this is called Spot the Rosaceae, and the idea with this is to practice getting to see the flowers. And what we'll do probably briefly today is we'll talk about why the particular one is the one that it is. So don't worry about getting wrong answers. This is just practice. It's just practice. And I'll give folks a couple more seconds. I think that there's just 3 people who haven't voted yet. And if you decide not to, that's okay too. Very cool. I'm seeing, at this point, I'm seeing that everybody got it, I believe. One person didn't answer, and that is okay. All right, we are all done with that. So ready to see the answer? As everybody guessed, it is C. This is our Rosaceae. We'll have to talk about this really fast. What tells people that this is the Rosaceae? And you can call out, you can unmute.
I ruled out B because it looks like there's a whole cluster of pistils or stamens or something on a stalk,
Yep.
not all coming out from the actual base of the flower. So I
Yep.
was like, B is not right. But
Yep. Yep, that's a good way, eliminating that one. What else?
and also because I think I recognize C as like maybe a pear or crab or something like that.
Mhm.
Because we've got lots of trees like those ornamentally planted around, so I see them a lot.
Absolutely.
And
And
they
then go
have
ahead.
they have the delicate petals and lots of stamens.
Yep. Yep, that's right. Lots and lots of statements. What else? Anything else? I think, yep, I think you all nailed it. As Susan noticed, this the lots and lots of stamens here are on a stalk, as opposed to the base here. Also, this is a bit of foreshadowing. We'll be coming up with this one in series 2. Y'all ready for round 2?
Can I just ask one thing? I noticed here also the thing about A, it's very pretty, but I think other than cultivated roses that are bred to have a variety of colors, I don't think I see orange in the flowers of any of the rosaceae that I see. It's usually white or very faint pink, perhaps a deeper pink, purple, like there's a few of them, but mostly like they're white or like faintly pink. And I definitely don't see like a two-tone flower with that like bright pink at the base of the petal.
Yep.
So that seems just like I know, plants can come in lots of different colors, but it seems like every family has like a set of colors that are common to that family. So that doesn't look right. A does not, I don't see those colors in wild rosaceous flowers.
That's a really good observation. And I don't think I have seen that either. When you point that out, I also have not seen the colors being like that. So that's really good. That's a really good thing to notice as well. All right, you ready for round 2? Here we go. Here is Spot the Rosaceae round 2. And yes, Sarah, you're absolutely right. A was Scarlet Pimpernel. Here we go. A little bit trickier. Again, don't worry about right or wrong answers. This is just practice.
I lost the
Oh, the poll?
yeah. Me too.
Oh, I think if you go down to your controls under more, does it say polls quizzes or no?
Let's see. It does. Thank
Nice.
you. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool.
Excellent. And again, no worries about right or wrong answers. This is just practice. All right. Hope everybody's okay with them. We're slightly over time. I'll try to finish this up in the next 5 minutes or so. But I hope that's okay with folks. All right. It looks like almost everybody is done. So wonderful. So ready to find out the answer? And our answer is A. And no worries if folks didn't get that, that's totally fine. Again, this is just practice. What tells us that A is our rosaceae?
The stamens. It's all numerous.
Yep.
Numerous stamens.
Yep, numerous stamens.
And is it the superior, oh gosh, sorry, I can't think of the word. I'm looking back at my diagrams. This, the superior ovary or this, what is it called again? Evea?
Oh, there are, in this case, that is superior ovaries. They're a huge pile of superior ovaries.
Okay, so I did have the right word. I thought there was like another word to say with it.
Because
That's another example of one where it's got lots of pistils because it produces lots of fruits. Because all the little seeds are actually the fruits, right?
Exactly. So those are our future fruits, or our future strawberry seeds as we think of them.
Does the strawberry seed have a coating that's around the actual seed that we're not seeing?
Yes.
So I was also going to note the seed also has lots of stamens, but the pistils like this sort of weird little thing in the center, and it like structure isn't structured quite the same way. This doesn't look like vibes aren't the vibes are off, as Rachel said. and
then the 5 marks. Although I put this one in here to deliberately be tricky. So if anybody had a moment of pause where they thought that this might have been the one, that was on purpose, and sorry. It's this is from a family called Cistaceae, also known as the rock rose family. You'll notice that there's a lot of families that will have similar names to each other because sometimes we just say, oh, that reminds me of this. So this is a rock rose. So it's deliberately, I apologize, deliberately confusing. And I put this one in here because of the many petals and how that might seem like a member of the rose that we have. But the vibes are off on this one too, you might notice. This is ranunculus. The centers are a bit different. Maybe I should have had a better picture with the centers. Yep. You got it, Jasmine. And Clara, a lot of you got it. So yep. Are y'all ready for round 3? Final round? And again, remember, this is just for practice. Have fun with it. Here we go. Round 3. And it's okay if this is tricky. It's supposed to be. It's just practice. I'll give people about 10 more seconds. And again, it's okay if this is tricky. I think almost everybody's voted. Y'all ready to see the answer? And I do apologize for being tricky in this one. Our answer is C. Ophiolobus. This one's kind of an interesting one to have it because of how interesting these stamens are, going all crazy. And sometimes the best thing is to go by process of elimination. So real fast, what tells us that B is not the rosaceae? What eliminates this from our pool?
Or petals?
Yes, 4 petals, consistently 4 petals. This is a trademark of this family, which we'll be seeing in series 1 a bit later on. So yep, this one has 4 petals, whereas all of our Rosaceae have 5. A little bit more tricky. What tells us that A is not Rosaceae?
The stamens.
It's got compound flowers.
Mm.
There's each little pistil that we see is surrounded by a bunch of petals. That's actually a whole flower all on its own.
Yes, this one's tricky. So yep, a combination of the stamens being not quite coming out from the same place. If you see what looks like little flowers within this plant, you're seeing correctly. These are little flowers. As Susan said, these are compound flowers. And we'll be getting to this one later on too. This is one of the biggest families. This particular plant is called yarrow. And this one I think is either a broccoli or something related to the broccoli. But we'll be seeing this one again. And I do apologize. I know that this one was tricky. But our Raphiolepis, what tells us that this one is our Rosaceae?
As
Oh,
Rachel said, vibes.
vibes, yeah.
I think that the 5 petals that all are kind of separated by a gap makes me think a lot of the toyon, which also has a gap between the petals.
Yeah.
It also has that kind of waxy look, which not all the Rosaceae have, but the toyon did. So it kind of makes me think that it might be closely related to that.
Yeah, that's right. We have the petals that are slightly separated by the gap. I sometimes see this on certain members of, I want to say like ornamental plums, but I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Sometimes they also look different, but these lovely petals will detach quite easily compared to some of the other flowers in other families. Our stamens are a bit wonky here. They're not quite as numerous as we've seen on other ones. Reminds me a bit of toyon in that way, that the stamens seem to be a bit more countable. But yeah, those very light, delicate petals in this case would be our giveaway. And I'm checking out the comments as well. That yep, it has the vibes. But yeah, Raphiolepis. I think that this particular one is sometimes also called Indian hawthorn, but I'm not sure. I just know the name Raphiolepis. And it's a street tree here in San Francisco. Maybe some more for you guys too. So that was our round 3. And just as a quick little, oh yeah, we're over time, sorry. Thank you all for bearing with me. Just a quick little recap. We have our characteristics where we have our usually 5 sepals, although sometimes they're a bit harder to see. We've got our 5 petals, usually, unless it's been altered. We've got our usually numerous stamens, although now apparently we've got some we have to double check. We've got oftentimes numerous pistils in a mound, not always. The combined effect will lead to what looks like a fuzzy center, and will often have leaves with serrated edges. And sometimes, depending on which fruit we can expect to see, we'll have a hypanthium. And that is it. And thank you so much for bearing with me. Also, thank you for bearing with me that this was like my first time teaching this class in a couple of years. Thank you all so much.